sung that song there, these are the days of, haven't we? Part of the basis for what I was thinking about this meeting, which generally goes along this pattern. These are the days of, insert biblical character, and then stating what they did in their lives, how they are remembered in Scripture, living out God's life in the world. And whilst that may be a very catchy tune where the timbrels come out and we all get a bit of a sweat on as we're going with the big king, we may like singing, but these really aren't the days of Elijah, are they? We're not living in the days of Moses, or we're not living in the days of Ezekiel or David's day, although we are remembering what they did as an example going before us. The days we find ourselves in is today, as post-resurrection people who testify to the risen Lord. So these days we live in now, these are the days of, insert your name here. And so the question is, what are we going to do and how will we be remembered? As we come to our Bible reading from Isaiah chapter 9, I said at the start that often we use this at Christmas, which describes a prophecy that we interpret about Jesus. You will have probably heard sermons in the past preached around Christmas time on it before. If you've never done that, I would be surprised, but wait 2 weeks, and then you'll get the chance to hear one on it just then, and I will write one by then. But today we're going to be looking at it from its historical context, to ask what the times were that Isaiah were living in it. Who is the day of, as it were? What is going on at that time? Who could this be about? I started this meeting this morning by reminding you of Isaiah's call, and his response and his obedience was great. The message he was asked to deliver wasn't the most encouraging. When he was asked, "How long, God, do I have to proclaim it? Until the city lies ruined and without inhabited, until the houses are left deserted and the fields ruined and ravaged, until the Lord has sent everyone far away and the land is utterly forsaken." Isaiah chapter 6, verses 11, the second half of that, and verse 12. Admittedly, that does end with a small hope that not all will be destroyed. A tenth will remain in the land, a people who are scattered, but the holy seed will be the stump in the land with potential for growth. We interpret Isaiah's prophecy to be about Jesus. But for those in Isaiah's day, this would have significance for those who were hearing there, and the things which would be about to happen. The major military threat at the time would be the Assyrian army, who are known for being particularly savage at the time and an army to be feared. When they had their sights set on you, dark days lie ahead. Dark days indeed. Days of fear, days of not knowing if you're going to live the next day, long days of gloom. People who are very literally walking in the shadow of death at this point. But there is hope. We see that further description of hope in our Bible reading that Linda brought to us earlier on very helpfully, a couple of chapters on in Isaiah chapter 9. The people who are walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep, deep darkness, a light has dawned. This is a point, and I'm guilty of this too, where we want to skip 700 years and go straight to Jesus. But for today, we're going to just stay with Isaiah, okay? And with the people there to ask who might be the person they look to in their day. It may be helpful if Isaiah was given a straight-up name. But as we saw at the start, that's not the kind of case that's always the most helpful thing about giving. So we're left with this puzzle to try and solve and work out who could this be, this prophecy that relates to the people at the time. Well, very early on, we had a very helpful eats slot. And maybe we could think about putting the pieces together as a jigsaw, working all of those out until the picture becomes clear. A bit like in Wallace and Gromit where he breaks out of jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of you are Wallace and Gromit fans. That just came to me. I shouldn't tell you this. There we are. But if you've seen Wallace and Gromit, he breaks out of jail, and it's only at the very end. It's the one with feathers and a groin, but the first one. All right? Well, we're not thinking about jigsaws. Who brought that up? Forget about jigsaws, all right? We've already thought about jigsaws, and I couldn't top that. Instead, we're going to think of another game to help and try and work this out. Has anyone ever come across the game Guess Who?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It looks a bit like that. You ask a bunch of questions and then you try and narrow it down. All right, well, let's play the game of Guess Who this morning, shall we? On your feet. Don't worry, you might not be on your feet for long, but if you are able to stand, please do stand if you are able. So basically, I'll ask a question. If that applies to you, you remain standing. If it doesn't apply to you, you can sit down, okay? Thank you. So please remain on your feet. I'm looking for someone who likes chocolate. I'm not sure we've left anyone. No one sat down at the moment, have we? Maybe I need to be a bit more specific. I'm looking for someone who was born last century. I could have said last millennium, so born before 2000. If you were born before 2000, please remain standing, okay? That's who I'm looking for, okay? Some of you haven't played it before, perhaps not for a while, okay? Okay. So, I need to be more specific in that, because I don't think I've lost too many, although James will be sat down after that. Maybe not.
Sat down watching Pokemon.
Oh, there we are. So he may have been sat down before that anyway. Okay. The person I'm looking for is a woman. So if you're not a woman, please sit down. Okay, I'm looking for someone who isn't wearing glasses. So if you're wearing glasses, sit down. Okay, we've narrowed it down a bit more, haven't we? But we still have a wee bit of a way to go. Okay, if you've got glasses, you should be sat down at the moment. I'm looking for someone with brown eyes. So if you don't have brown eyes, again, we're going to narrow down the pool again a bit more. So stay standing if you have brown eyes, yeah? We still have a fair few, haven't we? Okay. I'm looking for someone with grey hair.
Is that without guy or with guy?
Yeah, grey hair. I'll let you interpret that. Okay, we still have a few. Okay, I'm looking for someone who currently or is in the past worked in the care sector. Well, that didn't narrow it down at all, did it? Okay, I'm looking for someone that can drive. Oh, hey. That one wasn't helpful either as well. What about someone that would describe themselves as artistic? Oh. Let's just check. Someone who was born in Scotland. Yes. And so we're left with one person. Thank you very much, Audrey. Thank you for everyone for taking part. We asked question upon question upon question, who could this be, by the clues which are given, until we are left with the one person left, in this case, Audrey. And that's what we're going to do with the clues here. Ask question upon question as to who this could be. Who is the person the light they're looking to in Isaiah's day? Who is it in verse 3, we're told, who's going to enlarge the nation that is currently being attacked and going to be scattered? Who is it in verse 4 that is going to shatter the yoke that burdens them, like in Midian's defeat? Now, Midian's defeat in verse 4 references the occasion that they suffered for several years under the attacking army, until one of the judges, Gideon, came along and defeated their army. Okay? So who will be the one in verse 5 who destroys the oppressors so they won't need boots to fight anymore? And verses 6 and 7, we have these other clues as well that point to an individual coming who is going to be able to do this at a time of prophecy, who is still a baby, someone who will govern God's people, someone of royal descent. Again, as we're doing this, we're narrowing it down from the pool of suspects. Someone of David's line, someone who will be bringing about peace to a people who are living in darkness and fear. We're asking all of these questions and again narrowing it down as we ask them. This is someone who will establish the kingdom with justice and righteousness which had fallen away at the time. We know, okay then, that it's someone from David's royal line, which is a pretty big clue that they're looking for. We also know, spoiler alert for 2 weeks' time, Jesus is from David's royal line, okay? But let's stick with the historical time at the time. Someone who's going to be able to destroy the oppressors, like at that time would be the Assyrians, like what happened in Midian. But the question is, who? Well, the very first verse of Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1, tells us who the kings were of Judah and in Isaiah's time. The vision concerning Judah and Jerusalem that Isaiah, son of Amos, saw during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Now, some of those kings listed there started as good rulers and ended up as pretty bad rulers. Others tried to and did kind of remain good. Others were just bad altogether. Yet what we know from about these kings, Isaiah, I want to suggest, would probably look to King Hezekiah as the one who would fulfill this prophecy in his day. We can read about Hezekiah's reign in several chapters of the Bible, in Isaiah's chapters 37 to 41, or in 2 Kings chapter 18 carried forward, or 2 Chronicles chapter 32 going on. Now his dad, King Ahaz, didn't follow God at all. He was a kind of king that worshipped idols, and consequently most of the people of the land at that time ended up doing so as well. King Ahaz is the one that led to the temple being closed. Now King Hezekiah, he's a different kind of king altogether. He was a king who led to religious reform for the people. He's a king who destroyed the idols within his kingdom. He reopened the temple and sought to bring about people back to God. Now, the Assyrian threat was politically very real at the time. And so King Hezekiah was the king who fortified the walls. He dug wells within the city, deep wells so that the people could survive on the water at the time. And after attacking the towns at the time, the Assyrians began to surround Jerusalem by siege. The king of Assyria declares to all inhabitants of Jerusalem that their God is not the true God, and Hezekiah is lying. And King Hezekiah, he doesn't fight. Now what does he do? He laments. He tears his clothes off and he prays to God. He seeks prophecy from Isaiah, who says and declares that not a single arrow will be fired into a city that is surrounded by this threat. And do you know what happens? The next day, we're told in Isaiah 37, verse 36, the Lord sent an angel to the camp of the Assyrians, and he killed 185,000 of them, all in one night. In 2 Kings 18, verses 5 and 7, Hezekiah is described as such. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him among all of the kings of Judah, either before him or after him. He held fast to the Lord and did not stop following him, and he kept the commands the Lord had given Moses. And the Lord was with him. He was successful in whatever he undertook. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and did not serve him. And so perhaps if we were going to sing that song we sang a few moments ago earlier again, Isaiah may sing, "These are the days of Hezekiah, of religious, cultural and economic reform in the land, the days of a leader God's people raised up to show righteousness when his predecessors had led them so far away from God." You can tell I'm not a lyricist, can't you? I would struggle to fit that in. But you can understand what I'm meaning. We're not quite, for the people 700 years before Jesus in Isaiah's time, we're not quite at Jesus yet. But the people who were walking in darkness at the time were not completely without hope. Yes, Jesus is the light of the world, but there is a light at the time of Isaiah. a leader that foreshadowed what was to come, which was Jesus. Someone who led with justice and righteousness that followed God at a time where the land was particularly against them. There may have been those in Hezekiah's day who had heard this prophecy from Isaiah and may recognise it. We have later interpreted this to be about Jesus. Hindsight is often a wonderful thing. That is his legacy, Hezekiah's legacy, what he left behind. As I said at the start, we're not in the days of Isaiah or Jeremiah or Ezekiel or Moses or David or Hezekiah. We are in the days of, well, your days, in the days of you. Insert your name here. And so what will you do? What will your legacy be? Will it be one of justice, like Hezekiah, bringing people back to God? Will it be about bringing peace where there's so much disharmony in families, in friendships, in the nation? Will your legacy be like the prophets, such as Isaiah, proclaiming Jesus as the true light of the world? In a world that so desperately often stumbles in darkness, will you be one whose life shows light, shows the way to the kingdom of God? As we think about our own response today, we're going to sing a beautiful song. It's song number 998 in the songbook, Beauty for Brokenness, Hope for Despair, that recognises our world is not the way it should be. It is a broken world, but actually we have a part to play. We have a part to come before and show this world, in the darkest days, there is a light that has dawned upon this place. Let's sing this song.